One. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to one-on-one at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Hello, everybody. Darrell, Owens, Legacy Maker Sports Network, and this is episode 26 of One-on-One here on the network. And with me today, I have a man who has done it all in this business. I don't care what anybody says, what anybody wants to say. I got the man from the Sports Journey, the founder of Sports Journey. He is the host of After Practice with Lake Lewis Jr., none other than my man, Lake Lewis Jr. Lake, how you doing today, brother?
What's going on, my friend? I appreciate you having me on. It's been a while.
It's been a while, man. You get that nostalgia as the season gets a little bit closer, and I'm like, ready to see my crew again, and we're, still waiting to see how those things will pan out. But it's just definitely good to connect with you, my friend.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we'll start this one, of course, everybody, with the check-in. Check in on you, man. See how things have been going through COVID. Let us know how you and your family, how you've been able to manage yourself through these tough times, and with everything we've had on the unrest in the country, police brutality, racism, you name it. It has been 2020 has had it all. Just give us your thoughts on how things have been for you and your family.
It's getting a lot better. I lost my father in February, and like a week later, literally everything shut down, and just dealing with that. And then, of course, we've lost a lot of legends, and that meant a lot to our race, meant to a lot to everyone, but specifically African-Americans who we looked up to. So COVID's been tough, man, but as far as the family, everybody's being smart, wearing masks, just doing the proper things, wiping your hands, the whole thing that you should be doing. And, shame on the people out there that don't feel like they don't have to wear a mask at all. I mean, I get it if you're in your neighborhood, you know your neighbors quite well.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we do that here, but
right.
But as far as just going to grocery stores and things like that, that's lunacy right there. I mean,
you don't know what those people doing. You don't know what those people are doing outside, and
man, you look, like I wipe my bags down when I get home.
Yeah. So what you doing?
You just gotta be smart. And at the end of the day, what we do for a living, covering sports, it's like our livelihood is affected by this. To not be able to cover things because had people been doing what they were supposed to do, I think we wouldn't have to worry about, teams and bubbles and, indoor stadiums and all this stuff. I feel bad for the fans that aren't going to be able to be out at, FedEx Field. That's just not cool. I understand why the team is doing this.
Right. But
if everyone had done what they were supposed to, we could have falls like we've been having for the past, 15, 20 years covering this.
Exactly. And it's a crazy thing, man. I really don't understand. Let's just come on, y'all. I always say, can we just lock it up for 2 months? Wear your mask, man. Let's take the political thing out of it. Let's just take all of it out. Let's just take care of each other. But I mean, hopefully we'll get to that point, at least one day. Now, with that being said, you have had quite a lot of success in your career. But tell us, man, where did your love of sports come from? Where was that moment when you was like, man, sports is life for me?
It's funny you ask that. People always ask me that and think it was like a magic defining moment. But I grew up in a house where, my father was an avid sports fan. He used to play ball, and, he's a big Tar Heel. He was from North Carolina. And, my mother, although she didn't play sports, she was a big fan too. And growing up, she used to tell me about, how much she liked Chuck Foreman and the Minnesota Vikings. And she went to Michigan State for college, and she was there when, they tied Notre Dame that 10-10 game. Bubba Smith and all those guys were there. So she was there for that. And, so I grew up in that. And then, my grandfather was a two-sport letterman at Howard University in the 1920s.
Wow.
So, it's just been something that's been there. I played football and basketball in high school, briefly basketball in college, and it was just something that I always wanted to do. Was always stay around it. And I was a broadcast journalism major at Penn State, so I knew that this was my calling. And as you know, certain things change. As the years go by, you get pulled into a different avenue of broadcasting or journalism. And I started doing more writing, and I hated writing. So I hated it. I still not like the biggest fan of it, of course, but we have to do that. But yeah, I've pretty much done just about everything you can possibly do in this business, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with you on that. Writing for me, tough. I can do it. I'm solid, and at least I feel like I'm solid at it. But it's something I definitely feel like I can work on down the road. But it's one of those things where it's a changing element, and you always got to try to find a way to adjust. And if you don't, you'll get left behind. And I think I think COVID has kind of taught us all that, because even as with our network being small, starting off small, and you think to yourself, wow, like we just started getting a little momentum. And we got a lot of momentum during COVID, which I was surprised. And I said, we'll take it. Now you get to this point, it's like, man, we just want to keep it rolling. And so you just never really know. You just got to be able to adapt and change. So you just really never know.
Yeah, this is almost like coming, in full circle for me, because, 10, 15 years ago, I was at ESPN, and, I was doing video casts. My drive time radio show back in Orlando, we used to, we set up cameras in there. There were webcams then, when the HD webcams came out,
right.
We had looking nice, but we were doing what we're doing now. So I feel very comfortable in this setting. It's almost like second nature. And that's just the way the world's going right now. I mean, technology, and let's face it, when you can do video, you don't have to write.
Right. So, and you get into sports journalism world, you've been in multiple organizations, but now you're the founder of the Sports Journey. And tell us how that all came about. How did you say, well, this is it for me. I'm going to take myself on this own journey. How did you start the Sports Journey?
Well, actually, it's that was the name of my show when I was on ESPN Radio in Florida. It was Sports Journey with Lake Lewis, and my sister came up with that name of all people. She's like, you've always had a journey in sports, and so she flipped it, and that's how we came up with it. And I've worked for, like I said, ESPN, worked for USA Today, just so many different things, about.com, all these places, heavy.com, And I just got to a point where I was just like, nothing against them, because I still have great friendships with a lot of the folks there. But I just wanted to do something different. And it's okay for me to say this. It's different for us as Black men. Let's just be real about this. It's different. And it's not I'm not looking for a violin to come out for anybody or anything like that. But it is different for us. And I felt like if I could control my own fate, my own destiny, but at the same time help along people who aren't getting those opportunities, then I would feel more, I guess you were saying rich. I would feel like there's more purpose to what I'm trying to do. And that's what I've been trying to do. So what I recently did, start 2020, was I started Lake Lewis LLC, put Sports Journey under that, and my podcast is under that umbrella as well. So now we're reaching out to fellow people like yourself who have podcasts. We're starting to put them up on our site too, help get you some fanfare. So that's something, my friend, that, we need to talk about.
Yes, sir. And see, that's the thing, when you start that journey, and I think a lot of people don't know how difficult it is. And you're right, at being Black men, starting from the ground up, it can be a really tough, it can be a journey. It can be a really tough journey, just trying to get, people to trust you, you and trust what you're saying. And I tell a lot of my team, I'm like, hey, the biggest thing that you can do here is, you want to be trusted. You want people to go and say, oh yeah, if they said that, I can believe what they're saying. And I think trust goes a long way in this industry. If you don't have that, I think who told me that? I want to say it was Andy Katz that told me that. He said, if you don't have that, trust in the industry, you got to gain that. If you don't have that, you have nothing. So
Yeah,
I've always taken that
that's
to heart.
100% true. I have great relationships with a lot of the guys on the team, and when people say things like, how'd you get Adrian Peterson to come out to one of your events and stay for an hour and a half? And I'm like, I just asked him. I mean,
It's that simple.
I just asked him, but because Adrian knows about me and he knows who I am as a person, he knew that he wasn't going to come out and I was going to ask him any, trick questions or set
Right.
him up. I wasn't looking for clickbait. We're just trying to get, true fans of this team, who support these guys, support them as men first. You just try to get them out there where people can see that, this guy's a good dude, and, when Adrian came here, people had preconceived notions about him because of
Right.
what had happened in the past, whatever. And, but you see, he's one of the nicest people you ever meet. And, that's what you want people to see when we do these type of events. So, yeah, that trust factor is huge. And without it, you don't have anything.
Exactly. And, speaking of Adrian Peterson and speaking of the Washington football team, something that we're all still getting used to. I know I slip up quite a bit. This team last year, I remember in a lot of reports that we used to do, post-game reports, all we talked about was culture change. You could just, it needed to happen. It needed to happen, but we weren't talking about it in the form that it's happening. And we were talking about it as a team. We felt like there's some things that need to be changed. Obviously Jay Gruden is no longer with the team. They pretty much almost cleared house on that. They bring in Ron Rivera and, then all this other stuff happens. And so with all of that going on, we're getting culture change in so many different ways. But take us, in your mind, Washington football team. A lot of people have made fun of this team. They've made fun of the name. But in your eyes, what are we looking at from this Washington football team this year? What could we see out of this Washington football team?
I think that you're going to see growth. You may not see double digit wins and things like that. And that's not to say that they're going to not be improved, because they are improved. They've already improved. They've got some solid coaching, of course, led by Ron Rivera. I think Scott Turner's system is conducive to a lot of the talent on the team. I expect a bigger year from Terry McLaurin than he had last year. I expect Dwayne Haskins to really come to the forefront as being one of those young quarterbacks that's talked about around the league as like that next wave waiting to happen.
Right.
Of course, on the defensive side of the ball, Chase Young comes in. You pair him up already with a stout defensive line and Ryan Kerrigan and Montez Sweat. I mean, there's a lot of things to really be excited about. But obviously, it starts upstairs in that building. And,
right.
You're not being on that field for years talking and just saying, they would have talent over here, but it was dysfunctional over there and it trickled down. That's just the foundation of your house isn't strong. Everything else crumbles,
Exactly.
So that's literally what was happening with this outfit. And now the foundation seems stronger. And I don't want to hear people saying, Snyder's doing this to save his neck. He's doing this to keep his team. I mean, he might be. And if he is doing this to save his team, he's doing a good job of it.
Yeah.
because the hires that were made were qualified people. Again, I don't have to say this. Everyone knows that I'm cool with Julie. That's my girl.
Mm-hmm.
We're friends, and I'm happy for her. I am. Jason Wright, we follow each other on social media. Ron Rivera and me follow each other,
Right.
So these are people that they're looking out, they're looking at people who are trying to do the right thing by the team, not bad mouthing them every chance they get. So they've made some good changes that I'm excited about. And no one knows this yet, so I'll say it right here, but I'll be back out next week, so again, so I feel good about that. I can be happy about it now.
Yeah. I mean, and truly happy for you. I mean, it's one of those things where you've seen the growth of this team over the last couple of months. I mean, it's been a whirlwind, and I'm just glad to see that the changes that they're making are definitely in a positive foot. We hate to see the things that happen with Geis happen, but a lot of people would say, well, they did that the wrong way. Under this new regime, I personally think they did that the right way. That's something they had to do it that way. They couldn't talk culture change and not do it.
That spoke volumes to me, because you're talking about a young player that, you know, if he was injury free, which we hadn't seen, unfortunately.
Right.
But when he was injury free, he showed you that he was a talent.
Right.
But you know, with the culture change and the things that they've been enduring, you can't go forward with that. You don't want any negative pub. You don't want anything that makes people look at you sideways. And they made that change immediately, you know, and you have to commend them for that. You know, they can't, this outfit has no room for error.
Right.
Period. You know, they're a PR boon or they're a PR bust, and they're trying to go towards boom where they're making the right decisions. And it will be refreshing maybe at this time next year that we could have an off season with no drama. You know, that's what I'm waiting to see. I need to get through this year.
Just want to get through this year,
next off season.
You know,
because
you know, maybe a new name
comes
by
out in the off season. Yeah, you know that's like, dang man, it's the off season. We're not supposed to be talking about this stuff, but it always happens. So I think they're going in the right direction. I'm really excited for it. I am.
Yeah, it could be an exciting time with a new name and all that stuff. A lot of people complain about all the stuff, but with a new name coming, I think the fans are going to get that opportunity to help make that happen and change and be the voice of that change of the name. So, I mean, I'm excited. Me personally, before we move on, Red Wolves is the one I'm kind of digging, and it's only because I can imagine the players coming out, and then you hear the woo. Like I just feel like there could be fire there, but that's just me.
Listen, I told a friend of mine, it sounds good. I know Fred was pushing smooth. I know you've been pushing it, and it sounds great. You could be in the airport and you could hear the fans howling. You know what they're coming to that game for.
Right.
But if you losing, now it's gonna sound like jackals.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one.
So you gotta win if you're gonna do that. Red
exactly.
Wolves.
You better. It better be fire. All right, everybody. Now it's time for our favorite, or at least my favorite segment of the show. It is time for Quick Ones. Lake, are you ready for the Lake Lewis edition of Quick Ones?
I'm ready.
All right, man. Here we go. I've got a couple of them for you. Let's see if you're ready to rock and roll. First one I'm going to hit you with. Worst game you've ever attended?
Oh, man. There's a couple to choose from, and they happened over the last 2 years. I'm probably going to say the Giants game of 2 years ago.
Oh.
That was bad. You know, I mean, matter of fact, the Giants game up there last year was bad.
Right.
But that Giants game here was so bad because the Giants, I think, jumped out on them like 100-0 at halftime. You know, it was seriously, I think it was like 30-something to nothing at halftime. And there was no effort on the field, none whatsoever. You could tell that they laid down, and that's when I knew it was bad, and they did it. You know, I know this is a joke that I probably shouldn't say, but I had said that they had been practicing social distancing for a while, and that game proved it. It was bad.
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, it was. I remember that Giants game, and that Giants game was just that's the Saquon Barkley up the sideline. I remember I was on the sideline I was doing photography, and I saw him coming. I'm like, man, there was no way to stopping this man. And poor Josh.
I mean, I'm a Penn State dude. I'm a Penn State guy. So you
were good with that part.
I was happy to see it, but I wasn't happy to. I mean, I want to see you can get a 30-yard run, but you don't have to break 70-yard run. I mean,
you ain't got to hit him with the 75. Then he almost had like a 59-yard run. I'm like, man, Saquon, come on, bro, like slow down, man.
I mean, he ran in the end zone with the deuces. I mean, you can't do that.
No, man, it was a rough deal. Next one. Mm-hmm. Favorite sports moment. Now, this could be high school, this could be college, but what was your favorite sports moment?
Man, that's a great one. I'm gonna go all the way back to AAU middle school. Actually, so the AAU team I played with, you know, I used to be able to hoop. You know, my AAU team. I was in seventh grade, but I was playing with the high school kids in the AAU team, and this was in Southern Maryland. The high school kids were playing at Thomas Stone, and my sister had gone there. I was at John Hanson. I'm plugging them schools. Give me some love.
There you go.
You know, we won the Southern Maryland championship, and I hit some free throws to win it for us, and they carried me off on their shoulders. That was like my one shining moment in my life, you know, in that kind of capacity. So I'll never forget that, you know. I'll never forget that my father was still on the bleachers with his arms up, though. Wouldn't give me any love.
That's hilarious. Dad was like, all right, okay,
Nah,
congratulations.
he told me years later, the reason why I didn't say anything to you because I didn't want you to stop working. I didn't want you to think you had arrived.
See, a good look.
That's fair.
Good dad moment right there. Good dad moment right there.
Right.
All right, next one. Your favorite Washington football team player of all time?
Man, there's been so many great players that I've watched growing up, you know, being from DC. But for me, it's Sean Taylor.
Yeah.
And it's not just so much because of what he did here. I was in Florida. You know, at the ESPN radio station that I was on, we were the flagship station for Florida State in Central Florida. And had a chance to see him play several times. And I'll never forget the game against University of Miami in the rain, just the stuff that he was doing. And I'm like, man, if Washington can get him somehow, it could be dynamic. And then, of course, Clinton Portis and Santana Moss, and you know, they all started stepping up for him, you know, to get him, you know, up there, you know, up here. And it was pretty good. But that Florida State game for me in the rain, when he was at Miami, the stuff that he was doing against the Seminoles was amazing. So yeah, and then of course he transferred that up here. It was lights out. We saw alligator arms from receivers. You know, and I've said this before, not to get long-winded, but I've said this before. Mm-hmm. Outside of the one run, that 1 year of RG3, his rookie year, mm-hmm. Sean Taylor has been the most dynamic player that this organization has had in the last 20, 25 years. Yes. Where, I mean, around the country, everybody knew who that player was, and players feared him, coordinators game plan for him. Hopefully they have that now to Chase Young and some of these other young guys.
Exactly. And for a person growing up around this area, you saw Hall of Fame potential. It was like it's that vibe when you see somebody like you see an Aaron Donald, you're like, oh, he's a Hall of Famer. If he stays healthy, he's a Hall of Famer. And that's the same vibe you got with Sean Taylor. I mean, and God rest his soul. And it's still crazy. I remember the day.
Oh yeah, that's one that no fan will ever forget. That's a player that just stings just to talk about him. And,
right.
You know, again, you go back to the things that he did. You're right. He wasn't just becoming the best at his position. He was one of the top 4 or 5 football players in the league as far as sheer dominance. You just don't get players like that every day. You don't.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Last one on quick ones. Your top 3 actors, and it can be man, woman, whatever. But your top 3 actors. Who are your favorite 3 actors?
Well, you know, I gotta go Denzel number 1.
Of course.
That's Black Moses. You know, you gotta put him at number 1. You know, there's so many people, you know, that I respect that do their thing. I'm a big Michael B. Jordan fan. You know, right. I think, you know, he's the next wave coming up. And but my all-time favorite actor, believe it or not, was Charlton Heston. You know, really? You might be surprised by that.
Okay.
My favorite movie of all time is The 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston. That's my movie, man.
Okay.
You know, so those are my 3 right there. Yeah.
I like that. It's a pretty solid list. I think Kevin Costner would shock people. Kevin Costner is probably one of my favorite actors.
He's up there. He's
in my top 5 for sure. And people are like, really? I'm like, yeah. Kevin Costner's in there. Because name a couple bad Kevin Costner movies. It's kind of hard to do. It's kind of hard to do. He's always legit in those movies. So yeah, Charlton Heston's a solid pick. You can't go wrong there. You can't go wrong.
Not at all. Gotta do some research, but it's not a bad pick.
Just a little bit, right? Everybody, that was the Lake Lewis edition of Quick Ones here on 101. And before we get off of here, I'd be remiss if I didn't get this opportunity to say thank you, Lake, for coming on to the show today and giving us an opportunity to speak with you, brother. I know you're a very, very busy man, so we truly appreciate that. And before we leave, it's time to leave your legacy. And I wanted to know if you got any special projects going on right now you want to let everybody know about. And then 2, what type of legacy do you want to leave in the sports journalism world when you've said that's it, it's all said and done?
Well, you know, just, you know, my company, man, that's my project, you know, and again, we've got some good people with me on this project, and You know, we're getting ready to go back hard next week, you know, and I can't wait for that. You know, so I just, you know, we work hard every day. We really do. As far as my legacy, you know, I do. I definitely have always aspired to be a good example, you know, for my family, for, you know, young black males. And I have no problem saying that. I want them to know that they can accomplish whatever they set their mind to. No one can stop you but yourself. You will have some hurdles and some obstacles, but that's when you lean on the old heads like us, you know, who've kind of taken some shots for you. Do that. You're never going to get to where you need to go by yourself. You always need some help. You know, so, but yeah, the legacy is just, you know, if you're going to do this, be honest, man. You know, treat the guys you cover fairly. Treat them as men. Treat them as guys that have family, that have kids, wives, you know, their sons or their daughters, you know, and so you want to make sure that you portray them in the right way. You don't always have to be the first person to have breaking stuff, and you don't always have to be the first person to be heard in an interview or a conference or something. Sometimes silence is more deadly. Just sit back and watch and listen.
Sit back and gain that knowledge. Exactly. I mean, there's been a couple times I just sat back there and sat quiet and listened. And you pick up on that small thing that nobody is like, do y'all remember when this was said? And that goes a long way. It goes a long way.
It sure does.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to thank my man Lake Lewis Jr. for coming on here. Episode 26 of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Lake, you know, once the season gets going and we can get a full season, man, I have to have you on again just to pick your brain to see how the season's going, my friend.
Anytime. You call me, I'm there. We make this happen.
That's my man right there, everybody. If y'all don't know him, y'all make sure y'all go check out my man Lake Lewis. Hit him up on Twitter. Make sure you hit him up on Facebook. Go and check out the Sports Journey. It's a great site, great people, great team. Make sure you check out my man Lake Lewis. I'm Darrell Owens, Legacy Maker Sports Network. We truly appreciate you all for coming on. Until next time.